Now we'll discuss how to use this Google form to conduct online examinations. Now we'll discuss the scenario first. So when students appear the offline exam, so what they have to do is, so they enter into the examination hall. The invigilator has to give them the answer sheet along with the question sheets. So the students has to answer the questions, fill up the details in the answer section and give the answers. After they finish the exam, they have to submit the answer sheet to the invigilator. After that, the examination is done and the evaluation process will start. Now we'll do all these steps in one Google form, like setting the question, setting the answer, submitting the question to the student, and evaluating the answer and seeing the result. So let's get started. So for this, so you have to open your any browser. So there, as we discussed, you can type forms.google.com, or you can go from here from your Gmail account, go down and you can see forms. You can click it. You can go from here also, or you can click, you can type Google Forms and the Google, and you can go to that Google Forms section. So once you come to this page, so we'll create a new form. So I have to click this blank. Now we have discussed earlier, so what is this? So if you want to know more details, you can see the previous lectures. So just quickly I will give you some overview. So when you create a Google form, so this will appear like this. So first we will type the title of this page. So let's say I'm conducting first, let's say you can type anything. So first SEM examination. You can type subject. Let's say subject is, let's say computer science, come on. Paper is, let's say, the core one, or you can give the name, let's say, or let's say I will say computer mentals, right? You can give a description of the form here. This is an MCQ based online examination or your college name, whatever you want, or you can also type your college name above, and you can include all these things in this below section. So it is up to you how you design, right? Okay, after that you can see, so we'll type the question here. So before typing directly the question, so what we have to design is, we want the student to give few details like his name, exam roll number, registration number, and any other details that is appropriate for you. So here we'll ask the student to type the name. So I will create a name field, name, and make this as a short answer, right? Okay, here I will make this field as required. By making this required, it, while the student fills out this form, he has to, or he or she has to compulsorily type his or her name. I will just give you a description about this name, saying that enter your name in capital. So this will give a help, or tell the student that how to type his or her name, right? So this is the short answer text. So when the student opens this one, so this field will be open where the student can type his or her name in the text box, right? Okay, now we'll create another field for roll number. So let's say I will say roll number. You can say exam roll number, whatever thing. So I will make this as required. So making this is a short answer, because typing roll number is a very small thing, right? So okay, so I will select as a short answer, make this required. Similarly, I will give some description saying type your exam roll number, right? So because the students are given admit card or ID card, so there they have their exam roll numbers. So you can give a reference that please verify your admit card while typing the roll number. Okay. So next, I may require their mobile numbers so that I may contact if some students face some issue, or if the student due to my administration purpose, I may ask the student to enter his or her mobile number also. So make this required. Again, it's a short answer, right? So you can see these are the personal details the students has to fill out before appear the examination. So what I have to do is I will create two sections. So one section contains the personal details. The second section will contain the multiple choice questions, right? Okay. So then how to create a new section? So at the last question, I'm just clicking this one and you can see R section. You can see this one. So when I click art section, now it creates a new section for me. So in this, you can see section 2 of 2 and the above one is section 1 of 2, right? So this gives a clear separation between the personal data and the examination related questions, right? So here I will type answer all questions. Description, I will write each question. Here is, let's say, 1 mark. So you can say multiple choice question, whatever you want, you can type here or here. So the section is created. Now under this section, I will add questions. So how do I add? So by clicking this section, you can see this plus add questions. I'm adding the question. So I'm just going above. Now let's say I will add questions. So remember, so while writing questions, I'm not giving number. You can give number one dot. So what is the full form of, let's say, CPU? So I'm intentionally removing this number. Why? Because we'll discuss it little later. Okay, so what is the full form of CPU? So this is the question. You can see because this is a multiple choice question, so Google by default has selected as a multiple choice. If it has not selected, I have to select it this multiple choice, right? Okay, so when I have multiple choice, so I have to give basically options, more than one option, right? So either I will say, so let's say central processing unit. So I have to provide multiple options. The student has to choose one option. Central program unit, control program unit, central processing utility, right? So these are the four options. So you can see, so four options are there. So when the student sees the question, so he or she will see these four questions, right? Four options, and he or she has to select the one option. Now at the same time, while designing this form, so we will set the answers so that Google will evaluate them automatically. You do not need to evaluate, right? So I will make this question as required. Making this required means the student has to review this question. He or she cannot leave this question without attending. So after that, you can see I want to add. Okay, okay. So let's add another question actually before we discuss that thing. Let's add another questions. Add question. It is des bits. Let's say 1 byte is des bits. So I will say 7, 8, let's say 9, 10, right? So I will say 10. Now I will also make this question as required. right? Okay, so in this way you can type as many questions as you want. So before we proceed further, we will do few setting. Okay, so we have to go to this setting section and click this one. So here I will collect the email addresses. So I want every student's email address so that that will be used for communication if any problem occurs. Okay, so here response receipts, as we discussed in the previous lecture. So here, so when the student submits this form, so the copy, the entire data will be given to the college who is conducting this examination. Along with this, there is an option that the student will give a copy of his or her response. So if you want the student to receive the response copy, then you can select this one. So when you see if respond requires it, if the respondent request it, if the students request that I need a copy of my response, then you have to select this one. If you want by default a response copy will be given to the student, then you can select always, right? So it is up to you how you design. So for me, I will not select this one. Okay, so next is limit to one response. So when I say limit to one response, this means that you every this means that every student has to attend this examination only once. That means the student has to fill out this form only once using one email address. So I have to click this one. So when I say limit to one response, so this when the students opens this form to fill it out, for filling it out, so it will ask the student to sign in. So that way also we can authenticate, okay, so that student is a valid student and he or she has a proper email address. And below these two settings, respondents can edit after submit. So when I select this one, I this means that I'm enabling the student to change his or her response and resubmit. So this is not a good option for the examination purpose, so I will not allow. Similarly, see summary charts and text responses, so I will also not select this thing. Okay, so next is called presentation section. So here I will select show progress bar. So because I want to create multiple sections and each section may have questions, may have personal details and any other things like declaration things that student has to s- fill out the declaration. So I may divide the Google form into multiple sections, so that when I select the show progress bar, this will give a status of the progress, how far the student has appeared, how far the student has filled out, and how many sections are remaining. So that will show a status bar, right? So this is called shuffle question order. So when I say shuffle question order, so you might have noticed that while setting the question, I have not given the question number intentionally. Why? Because so that way, if I have 10 questions and I have multiple students, now the question will be shuffled. Each student will see different order of the question. So first student may see 1 2 3 6 7 questions like this. Second student may see the questions like 9 8 6 7, like this, in that order. So different order of the questions will be seen by each student. So that is a good option for examination, so I will select this one. And this is called confirmation message, where after the student submit presses the submit, then he or she will see a confirmation message like thank you for your response, or you can say well done, anything that you want. So another is restrictions. So we will keep this unchecked, this option unchecked. So disable autosave for all response. So let's keep this unchecked. So this means that if the students, let's say, fails to submit the answer, or when the student is writing the answer and due to some problem, he might have get call while attending the answer, so the form, Google form, will be minimized. So when he or she reopens that question, so if I do not select this option, so it will allow the student to continue from where he or she left. So that means if the student has total 10 questions and he or she has attempted 7 questions, and he got a call in between, and after the call is done, or after the problem is solved, so when she opens up that Google form once again, so he or she has to type or attempt the remaining three questions, not all the 10. So I will just keep it disabled, keep this unselected. Next is called quizzes. So this is most important. So for examination purpose, I will select this quiz. So make this as a quiz because I am designing a multiple choice question. So every question has answer, every question has a point, right? Okay, so this is most important. So immediately how you want to release the mark, because the when you set the questions, we will also set the answer, the correct option, correct answer for each question. So the Google will automatically evaluate that and will give you the score. So we do not need to evaluate each answer script individually in case of multiple choice questions, right? So when I select this immediately after each submission, this means that when the student presses submit, so the student will see how much score he or she has secured. So we will not see this one, we will publish the result later, right? So I will select this option later after manual review. Okay, respondent can see, so I will just unselect all missed questions, correct answers, point values. So I will not disclose any data to the students because I want to publish the result on a separate date, right? Once all the examinations are done, so I will publish my result later. So I will just unselect every option. So after that I will click save, right? Okay, so you can see total points is 0. So after that I will do another setting here. So you can press these three dots, go to preferences. Now again I will select collect emails, make every questions required. If you want every question required, then you can select this one. If you want that none of your questions are optional, then you should unselect this. So for me, I'm selecting this as required. Okay, and here the default quiz point value. So what is the mark, what is the point you want to assign for each question? If it is 1, you can type 1. If it is 2, you can type 2. So by setting this, so every question will have same mark. If you want, you can edit each question individually and you can give different marks also to each question, right? So after that I will come to each question section. So here just I'm clicking this one. Now when I click it, now you can see there is an option to set the answer key at the below of the question. So I'm clicking this one. So this will help me to set the correct answer. So what is the full form of CPU? So the teacher is, or the person who is designing this Google form will set the answer, the central processing unit. So this is the first, this is the correct answer. So after that you see the point, actually this is not set. So if I reopen the form, then it will reset that one. Okay, so I'm just manually setting it to 1. Okay, so done. Now you might be wondering that, yeah, the student may see the answer. No, the student will see only the questions. So once he or she select the option, the Google internally evaluate that and will decide whether the question is, or the answer given by the student is correct or not, based upon the answer set by the instructor, right? Okay, so this page answer questions, everything will be visible to the instructor, not to the student. The student only see the question and its relevant options. Okay, that's fine. So similarly I will set the answer for this second question. So 1 byte is des bits, and des number of bits, right? So Google is giving the suggestion 8 bits, right? So the suggestion will not be given to the students. So while you're setting the questions, it is showing the suggestion. Okay, so I will see answer. So I have to make this answer key and I have to select 8. So and the point is 1. Actually this should be set by default. So if you refresh the form, or if you set, if you before typing the questions, you have if you have gone to the preference section and if you have set those values 1 and other things that we have done, then you do not need to explicitly mention the mark or the points for each question. So they will be by default given 1 point for every questions, every new questions. So done. So similarly, if you want to, let's say, create another questions, you can see You can see, right? So 1 point is already given. Why? Because we have already said that I'm giving 1 point to every question. So you can add question, whatever question you want. So let's say I want to delete this one. I do not want to get a new question. Okay. So what we have done is, so we have created two sections. So first section is that section that contains the students basic details. Second section is the question answer sections, right? Okay, so let's give a name to this form. You can keep this entire thing as it is, or you can say first sem core 1, or whatever name you want. Pass, I will give it capital. Okay, that's it. So just for you, just to cross check the how many questions, because we have not set the question numbers, so it will be difficult for you to count the number of questions, right? So at the top you can see total points equal 2, so that means there are actually two questions basically. So while setting the questions, you have to make sure that this name, because there are also questions by default, because Google considers everything as a question. So we are just changing the type. So I need a name, that's why I'm changing this to behave as a name, right? But Google internally, for Google, everything is a question, right? So you have to make sure that these answers these are the 0 points, right? There are 0 points, 0 points, because the student can type anything, right? Okay, so these are the valid, they should be the valid questions. So they should have points set 1 point. So 1 point, right? So when it's a 1 point, because I have two questions, so total marks it is showing is 2. So yes, so cross check is also done. Okay, so after that, so I will do few settings in the responses section. So go to the responses. So the responses section here, you can see this switch. So the switch is by default on. So when this is on, that means the students can submit this form, or the students can give the response. That means when I create a link to this Google form and give that link to my students, the students they can fill out that form, and finally they will submit it, right? So that means, so this Google form is saying that I'm accepting the responses. So let's say after the examination is over, so you have to close this one. So let's say you have examination time is 11 to 12 o'clock, right? So make sure that at 11 o'clock this link is opened, and after your examination is off, you can close this link. So when you close this, that means no student will appear this examination after 12 o'clock. So there are add-ons available, so which will allow you, or which will help you to track how much time that you are allowing your student. After that time it will automatically fetch the data, right? So we will not use those add-ons, we will handle everything manually. Okay, so in the response section, so I will, there is an option to create a Google Sheet. So this Google Sheet will help me to see all the students data at one place, right? We'll see. So past sem core 1 response. So once the students they submit the data will be collected in this Google Sheet line by line. So this is the timestamp, email address. So whatever fields that we have created in the Google form, the same field appear. And once the students they fill out this form and submit, so those data will come and they get stored in this Google Sheet. So I can see every data at this sheet, right? Okay, so the basic settings are done. Now you might be wondering, so where are these Google Sheet and Google Forms stored? So they are actually stored on your Google Drive. So how to access your Google Drive? So I can access the Google Drive from various places. So like I can type here drive.google.com. I can type here, sorry, so there is a G. Okay, so you can see here your questions, everything's are done here, right? Okay, so past sem core 1, past sem core 1 response, this is the Google form, this is the sheet. So just because I have a lot of things on my Google Drive, so Google Drive is a place where all my Google Docs, all my Google forms, Google Sheets, drawings, everything will be there. So it is a central location for all the data. So just to categorize this data, or just to have an organized picture, so I want to create a folder, and inside that folder I will keep these two things. So let's say, so I have to create a new folder, new folder. So let's give it some name, examination, create, and you can see the folder is created. Now I will move these two files. So so I'm selecting these two files using a control button, and I'm just moving these two files and putting it inside this examination. Okay, so they're already done. Or you can just right click. So this is done. Let me refresh it. So there is some issues from Google side. So you can see in the examination folder, I have two files, pass_1 response, right? Or if you want, you can also right click any file and move to, you can say move to, and go to the examination, right? You can also select in this way. Okay, so we have a folder examination, and all the examination related information I will store inside this folder. Okay, now coming back to this Google form, now our questions are set, answers are also set, and response settings are also done. So where to store the responses. Now the final thing is how to create the link for this Google form, so that I will share this link to my students and they will appear the examination at their home. So how do I do? So this is a send button. You can click this send button. Now here there are three options. So one is email, right? So I need the link. So I will select this middle part. This is the link part, and this is a big link created. So I want the link to be certain. So I have to click this certain URL, and this is the link. So I will just press copy. So this link is copied. Now you can copy this, you can send this link to your students either through your WhatsApp or any other media that you prefer. So if you are conducting examination through Zoom or Google Meet or any other apps, then you can paste this link in their chat window and asking the students to open that, right? So let's give a demo. So I'm just appearing that examination. Okay, so I'm just doing it in this form only. So I'm just pasting this in a new tab, clicking it. So because, so one thing you can notice here, so because we have set that limit to one response, so this will require every student to sign in before they open this form. So every student should have a valid Gmail account or Google account. So first they need to sign in, after that this form will open. Okay, so here they have to fill up the basic details. Let's say I will say abc@gmail.com. So the sign in Gmail account and this email account may be same or different. Okay, so roll number, so type your exam roll number. So exam roll number, let's say I will say whatever. Okay, mobile number. Okay, so name, ABC. So you can notice one thing. So the roll number, mobile name, they are appearing in a different format. So in the question we have first created name, after that roll number, then mobile number, right? But here when I am opening it, it is showing a different order. Why? Because we have selected that shuffle option, right? So when I shuffle option, so it will shuffle every question. So every student, they will see different order of these questions. Okay, so this is past section. So you can see the status bar or the progress bar. So it is showing that page 1 of 2, because we have two sections and currently we are in the past section. So it is saying it's a page 1. Okay, after that the student has to go to the next page. So he or she has to click next. So when I click next, you can see the second section is opened. So answer all questions. So each question carries 1 mark. So this is the instruction that we have already set. So the student is now seeing only the question and the relevant options, right? Okay. So what is the full form of CPU? So the student has to, let's say, select the central processing unit. And second question is 1 byte is dash number of bits. By how many number of bits? So it's a 8. After that you have to press submit. So if the student, if he wants to uh, go back, so he or she can go back and review the details and again come back to the next section, and after everything is fine, so he can submit this by clicking submit. So when presses submit, you can see thank you for your response. So the student has already responded, so the data is already sent to the examination or the person who has created this form. Now if the student is trying to reopen, if the student is trying to reopen or click it, click the link once again, let's say, so it will say you that yes, you have already responded, you can only fill this form once. Try contacting the owner of the form if you think this is a mistake. So this is restricting the user or the student to give data only once. So this is because we have set limit to one response, right? Okay. So because we have already logged into this Chrome using this Gmail account, in which account we have filled out this form just before, right? So it is restricting me to fill it once more. Okay, so we can see the response. So if you go to the Google form, in the responses section you can see there is one response we have received, right? So you can go to the summary, so you can see each question, how many students have answered this question correctly. So there is a statistics data, statistical data given by the Google. So if multiple students or many students, they once they submit, so you can see this. So this will give you a good picture, statistical analysis actually by done by the Google, and you can use that thing, right? So name, so answer all questions, you can see this. So every student, they are appearing the question. So the past question, so average, median, range, so everything is given by Google. Scores, so this student has scored 2 out of 2. The score is not yet released because we have set release the score later after manual review, right? So if you review, you can also release the score here. So let's not do that one now. So you can see the details of the student's name, roll number, mobile numbers like this, and what is the question and what is the answer said by the student. Okay, so what is the full form of CPU? So it is saying that 1 by 1 correct response. So the answer set by the student is central processing unit, so it is 1 mark. So Google is by default giving you by default evaluating the answer, so it is 100% correct. Okay, that is fine. Similarly for the second, right? If a student has wrongly given the answer, so the Google will tell you that yes, the question, the answer is wrong, so there is a cross mark will be given, and it will also show you, not to the student, so the instructor, the what is the correct answer and what the answer the student has selected. Okay, so if you want to see questions 1 by 1, so you can also see name. So if you see what is the full form of CPU, so this will give the details. Let's say I have 5 students, so I want to know, I want to see what is the answer for this question, what is the full form of CPU given by all the 5 students. So this will be shown here. So if you want to keep track of all the, or if you want to track the answers of each individual questions given by the students, then you can come to this section and go each question 1 by 1. So this third is called individual. So you can go and verify the each individual 1 by 1. So you can see the entire form, it is visible. So this is the past student who has given this response. So you can see the email, name, roll number, mobile number, right? So this is also, this is past student. So second student, so you have to change the email address. So this is, there will be a drop down, so you have to select the second student, right? So when multiple students they appear, so you can see 1 of 5, 2 of 5, 3 of 5, like this. So you can go to each student's response and you can see. So here there is option to release the score. If you click this one, now the message and email will be sent to the student regarding the score that you have received this much of mark. So we will not release this one, so we'll release it later. So if you want to release it after you have evaluated, then you can press release score. Right? Okay. So now let's see so how it appears in the Google Sheet. So I can click this one and I will see. Yeah, so all the students data, they will appear in this Google Sheet at one location. So I can either copy and paste, and I will take a printout of this one and I will do whatever thing I want. So this is the timestamp at which the student has submitted, email address, score is 2 by 2, name, roll number, mobile number. So all this, right? So what is the question, what are the answers given by the student? So every student, once they submit, the data will come like this. Okay, so this is the brief introduction about how to create Google form for online examination, and how to set question and answers, and how to keep track of the responses. That's all. Thank you.